Hello, Internet. It's time for another Wednesday's serial, and I apologize to break up your regularly scheduled Godzilla special, but of course, this is a comic show, and there was but only really one issue that's gonna be talked about this week. There's some other decent stuff. Nothing outside really the usual suspects for me, save the exception. I just want to touch on this one first. The end times of Bram and Ben. I thought it was Ben Bram for a second. I was like, what? Gotta check the cover. Okay, this is a 4-issue mini being put out by Image. I know, revolutionary. But, this one's really worth it. Art style's probably outside of a lot of people's okay zone. It's very Rob Guillory-esque, even though it is not the Rob Guillory, as he's still busy with Jew. But, Rem Brew, who, I don't know, but he's doing a good job. It's very much a cartoony thing, but it's the idea of the rapture came and this one guy announcing himself as the Antichrist. It's all very tongue-in-cheek. It is the funniest mainstream comic I've picked up in a long time. Not saying it's like out loud hilarious every page, but there's some stuff in there that's really good. And it's playing with this idea and having fun with it. And that's more than you can say for a lot of comics coming out right now. Like, this is really, I mean, there's tons of things like this playing with the rapture and that idea and what happens after. I mean, it's not the most original idea, but nothing really is anymore, right? But, I mean, this has been quality. It's the one thing that I thought maybe isn't getting enough play. So, check it out. But... Stick a snack! It's Batman! And ultimately, majorly overall, it wrapped up. And it didn't just suck. I mean, there's some things like Blackest Night. I was reading along and I was high on Green Lantern back in the day, and then you got to the last like 2 issues of Blackest Night, and it just narratively fell the fuck apart. Just did not work. It was certifiably bad writing. There's some cool stuff in there, but the end, no. And of course there's other things. When you get that ending that's really good and adds another layer, those are when you get the great works, the things people still remember. Of course there's things outside of that. There's things that are only so good but are remembered for other things just being generally better than the average affair, a la Hush. Overall, with this ending, it's there-ish. I mean, it wraps up. It doesn't make you be like, rah, none of this was earned. But on the other hand, for how grandiose everything was building up to this and all of the tie-ins, this was a lot closer. And I'm just gonna go into it, so frickin' spoilers. And about spoilers, I wanted to talk about that real quick too, because that was interesting today. I was on the tweeters, and one person posted something on the tweeters to the effect of, like, Batman and Joker have a romantic dinner to start, which I hadn't read it. I didn't know where it was going to be, because when you leave off, Batman's in the chair, and then just kind of, and then there's Z platters, I guess. But this starts off with the whole bat skeleton thing. Like, you must have seen it like this, scene coming from you, because Joker's clearly able to play that psychology angle. Clearly. And then you have that whole dinner deal. But the tweet mentioned that, and it kind of bugged me, because I have not been anticipating a single issue of comics like this one in, I don't know how long, a while. And I was not going to comic sites. I was not doing that today because I wanted to not hear about this. And so I understood there's going to be people on Twitter, and there's other people that are like, hey, we liked this issue, our review's up, whatever, before, I don't know what time zone they're on or whatever, but I don't know how the hell they're reviewing it before I'm out of work. But whatever. I just wanted to get to the comic shop and read it before anything. And so I found that kind of odd. I don't know how you guys feel about the spoiler-fic stuff. For the most part, whatever. I don't care that much. I figure if you seek out the site, or if you're looking for comic information, people actually, talk about it. Holy crap. But when you're getting information just on a feed before you've ever really had a chance to go pick something up, I feel that violates spoiler code, which I'm much lighter on than most people. Yeah. Anyways. So yeah, you get this whole deal, and everybody's at the table, and the big reveal is that you don't know where Alfred was. Alfred is Jokerized, which apparently is... Oh, thank God. And then all of the Bat family is bandaged in the face to be revealed to have their faces in front of them. Blah, blah, blah. Which ends up being a joke. Which doesn't make sense to me. Maybe I missed a tick as this was going on through the months, but as I recall, it was a flashback where Joker was getting the Bat villainy on his side to where he revealed what was in the platter. Meaning he would have had these faces while the costumed heroes were still at large. I don't know, that makes their reaction not make sense. It kind of throws off a few things. But also, for him doing that, it doesn't explicitly ever answer whether or not he knows who they are. So, yeah. It never, explicitly says that. You can definitely infer, but it leaves a little to be go for the way that comics get rewritten. It's kind of... We'll see, but that is the presumption for now. And it moves on. And then you get to this weird battle with them. Between them being the Joker and Batman. Which there's a lot of lines to really play on this, they're close thing, which... I don't know. I don't know how other people think of Batman, because he's been written in so many different ways, right? But this seems to fit a very canonized take of Batman at this point, more or less, of course. And the idea that he's verbally passive aggressive while being incredibly verbally abrasive hits me as, how do I want to say this? It hits me as someone who has, that's the sort of language someone of typically weaker convictions or more shallow motivations would have. I don't know, it was just so like high school, like, I'm gonna get a dig at you while I'm punching you in the face. Like, it doesn't, it was kind of offbeat in a way. I mean, it works and it's there, and I guess it's very much an idea that Batman throws out these terrible puns or whatever while he's fighting. Just here, it just felt so like the way Batman talks to Joker in the animated series doesn't fit here because it's so much darker, right? And so for his reaction to not being kind feels disingenuous in some way, I guess I'm trying to get at. I'm not 100% on how I feel. Also, the crowbar makes an appearance. It's not the crowbar, but it feels like the crowbar. Joker, crowbar, and Bat Crew feels like this holy trinity at this point. So that was a thing. Building of symbolism. The other thing that kind of got to me was, Capullo did a great job with this, but the whole fact that the face is strapped on, that whole deal, it just feels so lame at this point. Like, I really hope they retcon Joker's face back on if they bring him back. Because there's so many different parts in this issue where Joker's reaction is so important as to whether something's dark, funny, or twisted, or kind of like in fear or in faux fear at the moment, and to not have a reaction because the face isn't on. You need the face on. It took something away from what this comic could have been. So, and I know it was played very tightly into it, but the face being gone. There's also a weird bit of it's not even really symbolism, but it's this point. I really like the design of it. You may have noticed throughout this comic that in Batman's left eye, it's cracked, and the mask is kind of cracked, and you can see, it's really apparent in this frame here, his left eye, not stage left, but his left eye, so the way he views is more clear. A big part of the ending of this issue is that he sees the past more clear, and for those unfamiliar, the left is... This is more cinematography, so his view here is the way I'm taking it, or maybe I'm just trying to read into it weird, but in cinematography, if something's moving from right to left, you're moving towards the past, because the left is associated with the past, vice versa. Moving to the future, right, is associated with the future. If CrossEyed is present, I don't know. But the idea that he's seeing his past more clearly, and then playing, and then you get a reveal on the whole Joker thing, and how Bruce, when visited him and Joker didn't even care, kind of plays into huge revelation of, like, maybe he knows who the Bat family is. Ultimately, he doesn't even care, so it doesn't even really matter. I don't know, but him being more clear on the Joker is interesting. But they do also broach the deal again about why wouldn't you kill the Joker? Why wouldn't you kill the Joker? And it's because the Joker would win. And even the Joker's laughing at that. No, by letting me keep going, this is me winning. Look at what I'm doing. It's just so bizarre at this point. And again, it comes down to the point where, yeah, Batman shouldn't kill Joker, but if he got arrested again, he'd go in the chair. And the way that they played it this time, the Joker had to escape. I don't know. It leaves a lot hanging like something has changed, but you could see just as quickly, 2 years from now, whenever they decide to do another Joker story, that it's all just the status quo and kind of what's been built up here is just forgotten. And of course that's going to happen. Of course it is, but just... it feels like such a soft punch after stuff building so much, which is kind of the inevitable curse, right? You're dealing with serialization. So it's the Joker and Batman. You can't end it. You can't finish it, because if you finish off the Joker, what do you have? And of course it's comics. The Joker would come back inevitably one way or another. But this idea that it's trapped in this repetitious cycle, and it's just gone so many times that now when you elevate it, to have to bring it back down, it just doesn't feel natural. With comics able to go places where they weren't before, I mean, these Bat Rogues were thieves, and now they're more heinous than the Joker, exponentially so. And that means the stakes are exponentially higher. Meaning that the results need to be exponentially higher for the ending that's being earned. It's weird, because it's really only in serialized fiction that you're going to see this. But the ending that's earned is more dramatic at this point. But the ending that you get cashes in even lower. Usually when you have an ending, it overextends or it cheats to get to where it goes, and it's just not earned. It hasn't earned its level. And this Batman story earned a much better ending. And it's not that it wasn't pulled off, because this ending works, as I've said, but it's just it's supposed to be on a higher level with everything that's come prior, and the fact that it's tied into this larger family, and it's this whole deal. And it's not. It's a return to the status quo. And So I mean, it's worthy. It ends, but ultimately, it's never going to be one of those classic points, because that's part of the reason that those Elseworld books or their Future End books get so much acclaim and whatnot, is because they're allowed to actually end. But we get the ongoing story, the never-ending battle, so something to be said for that. Interesting to see what happens next. So yeah, Batman goes on. And now that we've had these kind of two major stories, it'll be kind of interesting to see how people respond to Batman in the next coming months. Because almost no matter, I imagine DC editorial is going to say, okay, no more sweeping Bat stories. No more including everything. And Batman in turn will have to be less grandiose. And so, what's next? And I mean, smaller stories will almost be a relief for a couple months for most people. But after that, I'm kind of curious if you're going to see the numbers drop like you have with pretty much everything else DC. Despite the fact that they're putting out a chunk of decent books, but like anything else, it's usually the B books where the quality are, because editorial mandates nowadays suck. So yeah, it will be interesting to see where it goes, interesting to see how people react to it, because this, I mean, make no mistake, Batman is kind of, I mean, Batman in a lot of ways always has been the book. I mean, that is the standard against which all other comic book sales are judged. There's a lot to be said for that, and then for a while was considered to be amazing, but that never happened, and now probably never will. But it's interesting, and of course, I'm sure you all know last month, Superior Spider-Man 1 was hugely the bestseller last month, but issue 2, which also came out the same month, got shot out by last month's issue of Batman. And those are more steady sales because people are in for Batman right now. I'm curious to see where that's going to be if Batman loses some stock for now. Also, if now that this kind of rotation of Batman is over, if some of the subsidiary Bat books lose enough steam that maybe the least Batman tie-in actually gets dropped for something else for DC, now that maybe I have a feeling Batman's been really big for roughly 2 years now. I mean, Batman, of course, is always going to be one of the biggest books on the shelves, but even like Spider-Man, you know, there are ebbs and flows in popularity even at the top. And maybe Batman's been writing so high for a while that it's going to come down and allow just a little bit of room to grow. Also, DC has been really pushing Batman, clearly, and Justice League of America with all their B-list characters is coming up, and they're really pushing Green Arrow, and it'll be interesting to see if the market actually responds in kind. Of course, some always do, because people are sheep. Not you. People. And so I'm hoping that it kind of does, actually, because to get just allow a little more in, allow some books that are maybe a little bit more about something in, a little bit more, could do a lot of good. But I don't know, it's interesting to see where it's going, and I feel like comics are at this weird point right now, and it'll be really interesting to see how it goes, especially with the WTF thing coming up. And with Marvel having had a research and everyone being like, DC sales aren't as good, blah, blah, and DC sales have been dropping. But Marvel is looking a lot bigger right now than they are, because they've had all these huge number ones, and if you have a big release number one, there's like, feels like several thousand people that just go and buy that number one and like nothing else. So it's bubble-inducing sales. So, yeah. So yeah, rambled enough on this one, but thanks for listening. Godzilla's coming up, and we'll hit you soon. In the face.